Thank you, everybody. And I've got a move by Councillor Guzman, second by Councillor Anderson, that the Council of Town of Minto resumes into open council. Anybody opposed to that? Seeing none, we're into open. Okay, move now. Now, is Councillor McKenzie back on yet?
For you, Member, he is not yet. So if we can please change that name.
Yeah. So if I could have maybe moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Dirksen, the minutes of the Town of Minto March 16th, 2021 regular council meeting and February 2nd, 2021 closed session meeting be approved. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. Additional items. I have one. Judy. Jeff. Anybody else? Deputy Mayor. Okay. All right. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, the Council of the Town of Minto convenes in a committee of the whole. Anybody opposed? Hearing none, that's carried. We have two delegations today, and the first one, I'm happy to see this one. I really, it's interesting to read the presentation, but of this piece of property that I've known for a few years to be a real vital part of our community, especially with the bald eagles up that area. So looking forward to having a little chat with Dr. Stefan Sobek-Swan and Dr. Tom Woodcock to present the delegation. Gentlemen. Are they here? Emily? Oh, there's Tom.
Yeah, Stephanie's here. I'm asking her to unmute. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Can you
and
hear
Tom
me now?
is here. He just
I
need him to
sorry.
unmute and
Yeah, go ahead.
I need Tom to unmute and turn on his camera. There he is. And just a reminder that it is a 10-minute delegation. And I'll give you a reminder at 9 minutes, okay?
We can make that work.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you so very much for welcoming us here today and for the nice introduction as well. We've been around the block for some time, but not necessarily around your block. We're kind of the new kid there. So we wanted to introduce ourselves and let you know about the opportunities that may exist to work together more closely in the future. Thank you. Next slide, please. RARE is a land trust and environmental institute, and as such, conservation has always been our priority since the organization was founded in 2001. So now, 20 years later, we currently own, actually, since most recently, over 1,000 acres of conservation land in Waterloo Region and Wellington County. And our education and environmental research programs also continue to grow. And over the past couple of years, RARE finalized our next 5-year strategy and plans. And one key focus will be to launch and implement the RARE Sites Land Securement Strategy, which I will be presenting about here today. Next slide, please. As you are most likely well aware of, Wellington County is home to more than 90,000 people and is in fact expected to grow another 85% or so over the next 30 years. So with this increase in population, land is also increasingly becoming more highly sought after. And it is really important that we grow the percentage of conservation land alongside development to protect the ecosystem services and other benefits our health and well-being depends upon. Next slide, please. In fall of 2014, a first meeting of local representatives was initiated by a former planner for the region of Waterloo to actually discuss the opportunity for a community organized, not-for-profit, multi-property land trust strategy for the area that is being pointed out by the red arrow here, which was previously known sort of as the hole in the donut, and basically is representative for Waterloo Region, Guelph, and Wellington County. After many follow-up meetings with representatives from various environmental groups and other interested parties in the area, we actually came together to form what we termed the RARE Sites Land Securement Team as part of RARE's organizational framework, with the particular mandate to develop and implement a land securement strategy for just this area, Waterloo Region, Wellington. Next slide, please. As I'm sure you're also aware of, there are a number of other organizations in the area who also have an environmental focus that relates in some way or another to the protection of land. However, many of these are either not actively acquiring new lands for conservation, or their focus is simply slightly different. For example, the Ontario Farmland Trust is really more focused on farming easements. But many of the organizations that are listed here have actually become partners in our efforts and are members of the Rare Sites Land Securement Team. Next slide, please. So the purpose of a land securement strategy is to identify parcels of interest for conservation. And in our case, this meant applying a whole sort of watershed perspective, as natural lands and ecosystems services, of course, don't simply end at municipal boundaries. And protecting the tributaries and headwaters of the Grand River will really have a significant positive impact on ecosystems that are also located further downstream. The main criteria that we applied included ecological significance, the connectivity, and the size of potential parcels. Basically, we determined all the desirable characteristics of conservation land, like, for example, the proportion of wetland or woodland or floodplain, and also the proximity to existing secured land. And this was then also followed by looking at the threat of urbanization, the potential for funding. And we also wanted to make sure that the geographic dispersion is somewhat balanced, because we wanted to be able to really look at and serve every lower tier municipality within the region of Waterloo and Wellington County. And of course, we also had to limit it to a somewhat reasonable number of potential landowner contacts that can reasonably be approached within a first 5-year program. So all of this being taken together allowed for a modeling process that we called the RARE score, that was undertaken in a GIS, or Geographic Information System, on the computer. So basically what you do is you make layers in this geographic information system to identify any desirable conservation lands on the map, and calculate the percentage of each parcel that consists of these types of lands. And the ones that score really highly, say in the 90th to 95th percentile in terms of coverage, are then what resulted in what we see on this map here. So in total, almost 15,000 parcels were analyzed using this GIS model, and we identified 17 target areas with 365 properties and between 7 and 81 lots per target area that have the most desirable land for conservation. And here in Minto in particular, we identified one area that is of specific interest, which we call the Drew Bog and Swamp. And we identified in total 44 properties of potential interest for conservation, which adds up to 3,155 acres, which is quite a bit. So next slide, please. So what we have currently shortlisted as property that is under some form of consideration is really already above what we had targeted for the first 5 years, which was about securing another about 400 acres. But you have to keep in mind that some of the properties that are currently under consideration may take quite some time to actually become protected under rare stewardship. In particular, because we're also planning with every project that we take on to also raise a 20% stewardship endowment to really be able to ensure the long-term protection of these parcels. Next slide, please. So to give you a little bit of a better idea of what this can look like in these individual target areas, here's a very simplified map of what we have named the Aramosa River Conservation Corridor. So you can see that this area already has a big protected lot, which is here in the light blue lines, that actually belongs to the GRCA. And we acquired the first parcel for rare in the area in 2019, and then a second parcel towards the end of last year. And we're just in the final stages of accepting a third parcel in the area, which actually will come to rare as an eco-gift donation. So this really gives you sort of an idea of what the long-term effort is going to be here, because the remaining area, of course, contains numerous other parcels that over time could be connected to a larger green corridor for a maximum conservation impact. Next slide, please. As you may have seen in your packages, we have supplied you also with a version of the land securement strategy that contains detail on the background, how data was selected and analyzed and the target areas, but also potential securement options. Because often what landowners are familiar with are only two options. They either sell their land or they bequest it to their children. But depending on the conservation mindset of the owners, neither might be the best long-term option if the owner wishes to preserve the land for conservation. Next slide. So many of the lands under consideration right now will hopefully come to REA as land donations, which of course from a budget perspective is really highly desirable, but other options as listed here also exist, including, for example, conservation easements, in which case the owner would retain ownership, but there is a legal instrument put on title that specifies select areas of a property that are under specific consideration for conservation. Next slide, please.
Just to advise that there is 1 minute left.
Yeah, I'm almost done. Thank you. So REA is certified to receive land donations under the Federal Eco-Gifts program. And this program is actually very attractive to landowners because it comes with multiple benefits as listed here, but it also ensures an additional level of protection because lands that are given as eco-gifts can only ever be held by eco-gifts recipients. So in the unlikely case that an organization should ever cease to exist, the land would have to go to another eco-gifts recipient, which really ensures long-term protection in perpetuity of these lands. Next slide. And with this, I would just like to thank you for having us here. And if you come across any landowners or any projects that might be of interest for us, we would be happy to continue to build a relationship and to get to know you and to hopefully come to a partnership in the future where more lands are being available for conservation and passive recreation as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. And have we got a quick minute for any questions, Annaline, or how are we doing? There's a bit of a
Yeah,
pause.
there's like a couple seconds left if any members have questions.
Any members have a question? I just have a comment that I think we'd like to participate in. Can we do a link to our website with you if that's possible?
Absolutely, so that we would. That would be most welcome. Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll do that. I'll get our people. Is that all right with you, Derek? Or?
Through you, Ms. Mayor, absolutely, we can create a link from the website.
Yeah, I know we do have some. Sorry, Judy, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I was just wondering what kind of activities are, I don't know whether allowed is the right word or not, but from what kind of activities would happen on these properties once they are in your purview?
Yeah, that's a great question. It depends a bit on the nature of the specific properties. So a lot of the properties that we own have significant networks of trails that we maintain with the help of volunteers and that are freely open, available to the public. So there's no entrance fees or anything along those lines, which obviously offers a lot of passive recreation opportunities. But there's also other volunteer programs people can participate in around ecological monitoring of birds, for example, and just general stewardship options, ranging from removing invasive species, for example, to helping with restoration plantings and things like that. And on our original site over in Cambridge in the Blair area, we also have a very large community garden as well with over 110 community plots that are available and where we also grow food for the food bank with the help of volunteers.
Thank you.
Mark.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Stephanie, it looks like your orientation and your work is Grand River watershed mainly. And I just wondered, moving up to the Maitland Valley, et cetera, you locking horns with the conservation authorities up here, or what's the, seems like you're crossing the border on us. I appreciate what you're doing, but
yeah, no, I don't think so at all. In fact, we consider the conservation authorities our partners in conservation, so we're not here to be in competition or anything. Okay. I feel particularly now with with what we're seeing on the challenges the environment is facing, and particularly here in southwestern Ontario, which has the highest level of biodiversity, we all need to work together to protect those areas. And we want to reach out to the conservation areas that are more in your neck of the woods, because we don't have very many contacts there yet. But we have a very close working relationship with the GRCA, and GRCA staff has always served on our committees on the land securement team as well, because the GRCA right now does not, to our knowledge, procure any further properties at the moment. So that's really something then where we can help with if landowners would like to make a gift of land, for example.
Thank you.
Just on that, the Deputy Mayor Turton is actually the chair of the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority. So
Oh, wonderful.
he's
Yeah.
right on the screen here. And
Yes.
I know there is a little piece of property up in where the bog is that already, and maybe it's under the it's conservation land that was donated, I believe. That's where I think the mating bald eagles are, and that's up right around the Drew Bog area. So, and and I don't know, Dave, do you know what that is? Because
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I think the Drew Bog, though, is more soggy.
it is Saugeen. I would think it would be
Yeah,
Saugeen,
for
yeah.
sure.
Which we
Yeah.
can get you in touch with Saugeen.
Sure. You know, I haven't really, so over the last week is the first time that I've read this, Stephanie, and I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of similarities, a lot of commonality with the watersheds conservation. And I mean, I can talk to our chair or our general manager and see if he's aware of your organization, because I mean, it's all good.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
And we have a couple of committees, Trees for Minto and our Trails Committee that, so I think maybe what we'll do is try to reach out to you and maybe have a offline conversation and see where we can add value to the process.
That would be great.
That's-
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have Dawn, and who's coming with Dawn here?
Through you, Mayor Bridge, I believe it's just Don Senek.
Just Dawn? Okay, Dawn.
He's
and
speaking on
we
behalf
have
of Minto Safe Communities, and he's
Yep.
just going to be moved up here. Just give him a minute.
Okay,
And I see he's there now.
there's Dawn. Okay, Dawn, welcome. And Eileen, I'll let you know you have 10 minutes and she'll give you a warning at 9 and whatnot. And I see it's a good time to come because we're having the discussion later on the agenda for the ATV bylaw or whatever we're going to maybe do there. So,
I'm going to try
Take it
to
away,
close
you
my
guys.
blind to see whether it'll be a little better for you.
yeah, okay.
Not that I'm much to look at, but anyway, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. The Minto Safe Community Committee, as you probably know, is a member of Wellington County Safe Communities, which in turn works closely with the Wellington County OPP and other agencies in the county. A part of the mission statement of the Minto Safe Community Committee reads, "We are a nonprofit organization that is made up of volunteers whose mission it is to make the town of Minto and Wellington County the safest place in the world to live, work, and play. Therefore, as a safety-minded committee, we feel that in all good conscience, we must oppose the possibility that the town might pass a bylaw to permit ATV vehicles on streets and public roads in Minto. Our reasoning is quite simple. Any data that we have found all came to the same conclusion. ATVs and public roads are a deadly combination. ATVs are called off-road vehicles. Even ATV manufacturers themselves publish warnings that ATVs are not designed to be operated on public roads. Why? There are a number of good reasons. The knobby, low-pressure tires on ATVs are explicitly designed for off-road use and may not interact properly with the road surface. The ATV's high center of gravity and narrow wheelbase can be prone to rollovers when negotiating turns. In fact, one report by the Insurance Institute of High Safety in the US indicated that rollovers contributed to 56% of all fatal single ATV vehicle accidents on public roads. Another report by the Consumer Federation of America stated that at one period in time, 65% of all TV deaths in the US occurred on public roads. ATV manufacturers operating manuals, warning labels, and even such organizations as the American ATV Trade Association and the Specialty Vehicle Institute of America, among many others, make clear that ATVs should not be operated on public roads. Honda goes beyond other manufacturers' warnings by including this in their manuals, and I quote, "Your ATV is designed and manufactured for off-road use only. The tires are not made for pavement, and most ATVs do not have signals, rear view mirrors, and other features required for use on public roads." They even go so far as to state, if you need to cross a paved road or public road, get off and walk your ATV across, and you should never ride your ATV on public streets, roads, and highways. By going on such online to such sites as ATVs and public roadways, you'll find the usual articles of riders injured or dying because they were not wearing helmets, driving at night, speeding and under the influence of alcohol and drugs, carrying multiple passengers, and other risky behavior. Many of these accidents did happen off-road, but an alarming number were also public road related. Now, I should emphasize that most of the research that we found pointed to US sources, since some states have allowed ATVs on their roadways for a longer period of time, and we believe that they have compiled more disturbing information and results in the province of Ontario to this point. That's why we emphasize some of the American quotes. We were given an interesting comparison between Wellington County, which doesn't permit off-road vehicles on county roads, and Haliburton Highlands, which does. You might have seen this report. In the period between 2016 and 2020, there were 24 collisions involving off-road vehicles in Wellington County, while in Haliburton Highlands, there were 58. That's 2.5 times more. In that same period, there was one fatal collision in Wellington County, but there were 8 deaths in Haliburton Highlands. These figures should speak for themselves. Town staff should be commended for the work that they have done in studying this issue. However, they are recommending a long list of restrictions, including prohibiting extreme terrain vehicles and dirt bikes on public roads. Are they saying then that ATVs are not as dangerous? Also, have they considered the serious question of town liability when it comes to allowing off-road vehicles on Minto streets and public roads? Our committee is recommending that we keep it simple. Just prohibit all off-road vehicles on public roads, period. We were pleased to see that on March the 25th, Wellington County confirmed and clarified that off-road vehicles, which includes ATVs, side-by-sides, extreme terrain vehicles, and off-road motorcycles or dirt bikes, will still not be permitted on county roads, despite the recent regulation changes by the province. And we as a safety committee sincerely hope that Minto Council will do the same. On behalf of the Minto Safe Community Committee, I would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to express our views and for your attention and consideration in dealing with this important matter. Thanks again.
Thanks, Don. And as you say, your report is there now, and we'll have the discussion at the around the bylaw coming up, but when we do the report from the town. So thanks for pointing out your comments and whatnot. So
okay. Thank you for having us.
No problem. Thank you. All right. Let's see, I got to go back to my correspondence here. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Elliott. The Council of Town Minto receives the correspondence for information. Does anybody want to pull anything out of the correspondence? There's quite a bit in there. There's some good Dave, did you want to say anything about the Maitland Valley, or are you good?
No, Bear Bridge, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We did pass the levy, so.
Right. I'm not currently, Jean, did you have something? Sorry. You're on mute, Jean. Sorry.
Yep,
There
I'm
you go.
unmuting myself. Not anything that I wanted to pull, but I just wanted to point out the Senior Center for Excellent newsletter. That's an excellent little production they
is.
put forward for our seniors. And I'm really thrilled to see some of the programs that they have out there and reaching out to the seniors currently. Our seniors are really suffering right now. We hear more and more about it. We're seeing it in the hospital, in the emergency rooms. The isolation has had a heavy, heavy toll on them. They're struggling with the vaccine issue. They need help navigating all the systems that are out there to help them. But this little newsletter, I was really pleased to see the things that they have in there. And if we can get people connected to it and seeing it, that's a really good thing. They do good work down there.
Yeah, thanks, Jean. Yeah, it was a good point. And the only thing I would make a comment on is I've got Randy's notes there. Just that I'm really happy that the province keeps coming back and giving us money to help out some of our small businesses and some of our sectors, especially tourism and restaurants. We're going to see more of need of that. And I know they've upped the amount, or people can actually, if they already had got the original one, we'll get the other one right away. And so good to see that the other levels of government are there working with it. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody opposed? That's carried then. Okay, good. Okay, coming up is reports committees. And I'll turn this over to Councillor Elliott to take it over from here. Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I'm going to turn this over to Matt. He's smiling and waiting, or maybe he's not smiling yet. Waiting to give us a report from our PrAC meeting that we had.
Yes.
Take it away, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. We met last week while we were still in Orange. We discussed how the second half of the ice season went in Harriston from mid-February until late March, with 5 weeks in red and 1 week in orange. We opened the Norgan for private rentals, and we were brainstorming some programming ideas for the month of April, including pickleball and ball hockey and strict cohorts, but we'll need to set our sights a little further down the road now. We'll see what comes in the next few weeks, as virtually all programming needs to be done virtually at this point. To that end, we're offering an online at-home alone course with first aid for kids again next week, and we're relaunching an online babysitter course program next week as well. We're taking a list of names for those who may be interested in a Minto only baseball or soccer season if it can run. And that's certainly fairly far off now. We're also booking private swim lessons tentatively in the hopes we can run similar to last summer, when we actually won the MG Griffiths Cup for having the largest life-saving program in a community with a population under 10,000. And lastly, we're looking to fill a vacant position on PrAC for which Scott Richardson is the candidate of choice. That's all I got.
Thank you. I'll read the motion, and we'll have discussion, and we'll call for the vote. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton and seconded by Councillor Anderson that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee minutes of March 29th, 2021, and approves the recommendations contained therein. Any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Chair Elliott. So I'm hearing that we are going ahead with our pools and hiring staff, hoping that things are good to go. And I endorse that. I think that's a great idea, because I heard all good comments about that last summer. So congratulations and good luck on that. Hopefully we can get back to normal sooner than later.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Turton. Yeah, all the staff that we've interviewed and offered employment for this summer is all tentative on us being able to offer programming. I'm hoping we can, and if not, then we won't have anything for them.
I congratulate our rec staff, Matt and his group for putting together what they did last year. Prac was a little bit concerned when they did it, and they reassured us that it would work, and it worked. And other communities were very jealous of what we did put together. And thanks, Matt, for doing that. It was great. And we're looking forward to having even a better program this year. Any other questions or comments? Okay, those against, I guess, we're calling for, right, Mayor Bridge? Anyone against? Then it's carried. Okay, put the chair back to Mayor Bridge.
Thanks, Councillor Elliott. And now I'm going to ask Belinda to talk about Economic Development Planning Committee minutes of March 25th, 2021. Go ahead, Belinda.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor Bridge and members of council. I'll be brief here. We had a jam-packed Economic Development Committee meeting with a lot of information. You'll see, hopefully I've read a lot of attachments there. The highlights of this, obviously went through all of our downtown groups. They're still being active and trying to do what they can. Mayor Bridge gave us an update on the SWIFT project, and the Career Education Council is doing some great work around a career exploration portal that we're encouraging our businesses to be a part of to showcase the opportunities here. We're waiting for the COVID action plan to roll out from the county. It's completed, but just waiting for rollout to happen. Bad news from our labor market board, with the unemployment rate being 11.1% at the end of February for our rural catchment area. This is still a little surprising for Minto specifically, as many of our employers are continuing to look for staff. So we still feel that labor is an issue here, despite that number. And there was 2 reports presented at this meeting. One was around our Minto Mapleton Economic Development MOU, and the other was around request to approve LCBO outlet store in Clifford to be open on permissible holidays. And both of those were endorsed by the committee. So those are the highlights, if there's any questions or comments.
Questions or comments? Deputy Mayor Turk.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Belinda, so the Red Express, pardon me, but is it an official LCBO outlet now? It is.
Yes,
okay.
it is. Yeah.
I've not bought alcohol there. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
So they're asking for permissible holidays, which could be July 1st.
Yeah, so there's in the report, there's a list of the holidays that they're allowed to be open. Sorry. Yes, and I don't have the in front of me
Thank you.
what those dates are, but
no problem.
It basically is non-religious holidays, basically. Like, so you're
Victoria Day, Canada Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Family Day are the ones that they're allowed to be open.
Gotcha.
And all the other
ones have to provide a letter like allowing it. Or yeah.
Okay. And Jean, the one thing I did bring in is the fact that there's $2 billion more from the provincial government. Hopefully we'll get some of that money for SWIFT or for somebody to do that rural broadband for us. So fingers crossed on that. But certainly, and then I'm pretty positive that when we hear the federal budget, there'll be some more money going into rural broadband as well. So that's what I'm getting from FCM. So I think we're going to see some more money. So hopefully some of that will filter down to us in Minto and our surrounding rural countryside. So, all right. And I have moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gudson. And I think Annalena, it says the Culture Roundtable Committee, but I don't think that's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be Economic Development. So
yes,
the Council of Town Minto receives the Economic Development Committee minutes of March 25th, 2021, and approves any recommendations contained therein. Anybody opposed? Okay, that is carried. Thank you. Staff reports. and Economic Development, launch it sublease agreement. Belinda?
Yeah, so happy to bring forward some sublease agreements, launch it despite this COVID keep shutting things down and making things difficult. We do have some new tenants coming in. One is Betty McTagg, and she's a chiropodist from Mount Forest. She's been in business for many years and is looking to move her practice here. So that is one. And the other one, so she'll be using 2 spaces within Launch It in Unit 4. One would be the room she practices in, and the other would be like a reception area. And the second one is Melissa Miller, and she's a registered dental hygienist, and she's had a clinic in Durham for quite some time. She and her husband reside here in Minto, and she's excited to open up there in Unit 3. So Betty will be opening hopefully May 1st. Her lease would start for 12 months. And then Melissa is hoping to get started on April 15th. Again, that's a 12-month lease. We would be generating about $6,000 for Launch It from Unit 4. And then, as you know, our great landlord there, SARN, does not charge us for Unit 3. So whenever we have tenants in Unit 3, we pass along any rent over to him, or he collects direct from them. So then we don't have tenants, we're not out any money, but when we do, he's the one that gets the funds from that. But she will be contributing to use of hydro. So win-win all around on filling up some spaces there.
All right. I'll move the recommendation and then have discussion. Moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor Dirksen. The Council of Town of Minto receives the April 6, 2021 report from the Business Economic Manager regarding Launch It sublease agreements and authorize the mayor and the clerk to sign the agreements. Questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. Anybody opposed? Carried. Keep up the good work, Belinda, on that. That's super. Next up is the planning technicians report. Ashley, do you want to present the report?
So good afternoon, Mayor Bridge and members of council. I hope you all had a great long weekend. So this site plan control is for a development of 4 residential townhomes at 290 Bolton Street. Site plan agreement must be approved before any building permits can be issued. It addresses things like servicing, grading, drainage, parking, buffering, all of that stuff that must be in accordance with the town's municipal servicing standards. So town staff, the County of Wellington's Planning Department, and Triton Engineering are now satisfied with this site plan, the layout, and the functionality. Any deficiencies have been addressed, and a final drawing set has been deemed satisfactory. So this site plan in particular shows the proposed 4 townhomes with an attached garage, asphalt driveways, a porch, and a quite large backyard, as well as the location of existing and proposed services. So the recommendation is that council approves the site plan, that the owner executes a site plan agreement with the town, and that council considers passing a bylaw in regular session, authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the agreement.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. And I'll read the resolution. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Turton. The Council of Town of Minto receives the planning technician's report and approves the site plan prepared by Triton Engineering Services Limited, last revised and dated March 29, 2021, as recommended by town staff and its engineer. And further, the owner executes with the Town of Minto a site plan agreement requiring completion of the works 1 year from the issuance of the occupancy permit. And further, the council considers passing a bylaw in regular session authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the site plan agreement. Discussion. Seeing none. Anybody opposed? Carried. Good. It's going to be a couple more units that we need desperately in the town. Next up is another, Ashley, do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, so this is another site plan control. So this one is for the development of an industrial commercial building that is proposed to be rented for light industrial use, which would comply with the zoning. So this site plan submitted is for J&A DeVries Construction at 115 Noble Family Road. The plan submitted shows the proposed development with the building envelope, the setbacks, landscaping, parking spaces, the garbage enclosure, the accessible sidewalks, and existing proposed elevation services, grading, drainage. The town is now satisfied with this final drawing set that it complies with all comments from town staff, county planners, and Triton Engineering, and we are now recommending the approval of this site plan agreement. So the recommendation is that council approves the site plan prepared by Triton with recommendation provided, and that council considers passing the bylaw in regular session, authorizing the mayor and the clerk to sign the agreement.
Okay, I will read that. Recommendation moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Gudson. The Council of the Town of Minto receives the plan technician's report and approves the site plan prepared by Triton Engineering Services Limited, last revised dated March 25th, 2021, as recommended by town staff and its engineer. And further, the owner executes with the Town of Minto a site plan agreement requiring completion of the works 1 year from the issuance of the occupancy permit. And further, the council considers passing bylaw in regular session, authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the site plan agreement. Discussion. I'll call the question. Anybody opposed? Carried. Thank you. Next up, you're very busy tonight or today, Ashley. That's good.
Yeah, only 5 this week, so.
Yep.
All right. So this next one is for TG Minto's manufacturing space expansion. So you'll recall seeing that zoning come through February sometime. And this is for their site plan control, just of that small expansion space, not for the large expansion that they're planning. So the site plan submitted now shows the expansion with the new loading bay, the 2 new loading doors, the additional parking spaces required by the zoning, the locations and of the proposed and existing servicing, and the existing tree line that fronts onto Main Street East. This one's a little different in that we're recommending a conditional approval. The county's planning comments have all been addressed. Triton's major comments have been addressed, but there are a few minor outstanding. That being said, TG is eager to start construction. And if we sign the conditional approval today, it expedites that process instead of them waiting until the next council meeting. So town staff is recommending that council conditionally approves the site plan, and the town will ensure that all comments are addressed prior to a building permit being issued and the agreement actually being signed.
Thank you, Ashley. The recommendation is moved by Deputy Mayor Turton and seconded by Councillor McKenzie. The Council of Town of Minto receives the plan technician's report and additionally approves the site plan prepared by Triton Engineering Services Limited as recommended by town staff and its engineer. Further, that the overall site functionality, including but not limited to vehicle movement, site grading, drainage, stormwater management are satisfactory to the town's consulting engineer prior to the issuance of the building permit. And further, the council considers passing a bylaw in regular session authorizing the mayor and clerk to sign the site plan agreement. Discussions. I'll call the question. Anybody opposed? Carried. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.
And one last one, and this isn't yours, Ashley. You don't have to take this one on. And who's going to be doing this? Derek, is this a tag team with you and Cam? And go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, through you. Yep. Our bylaw enforcement officer, Cam Forbes, is going to do the presentation, and both Terry and myself are available for questions as we move through it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wait, Cam.
Good afternoon, Mayor Bridge, members of council. So we put together a bylaw to allow for ATVs, off-road vehicles on our Minto roads. So just a little, next slide, please. Just a little background on that. So back in November, there was a delegation came to council to ask permission to use some of our roads in Minto so they could access the trails that are north of Clifford. And then in December, council directed us to develop a draft bylaw and seek some input from the OPP and other agencies as well. Next slide, please. So some of the groups that we spoke with were the Ontario Federation of ATV clubs, and I found out there's actually 2 different clubs in Ontario that deal with the trails. It's not like snowmobile clubs where it's one federation. You also have the Eastern Ontario Trail Association. So you kind of have to look at a bunch of different maps to figure out where all these trails are. We also talked to Wellington County Farm and Home Safety Association, Huron and Wellington County, the OPP, different municipalities within the county, as well as our surrounding municipalities. So next slide, please. Currently the municipalities around us that have ATV bylaws or ORV bylaws are like Howard, South Bruce, West Gray, Hanover, Southgate, and so on and so on. So Wellington North and Mapleton, because of the new regulations, they're automatically allowed unless they write a bylaw to prohibit ORVs, and they are not opposing the new regulations for the ORV use on their roads. Next slide, please. So one of the concerns is that there are no trails in Wellington County, but there are trails to the north of us and to the east of us. So on this next slide, please, you'll see this slide is, and I think I showed this one before, but this is the Eastern Ontario Trail Association. So it's not a real good picture, but that where that trail starts is just off the Huron Kinloss Road, or not Kinloss, the 40 Hills Road, anyways, Belmore Road. So just north of Clifford, you can access this trail. And then you'll see on the next one, so that'll take you up. I believe that's Bruce Power up at the top. So on this slide here, you can see this, the trail actually, I think it links up with this other trail, which is under the Federation of ATV Clubs. So yeah, like that trail will take you right up into Owen Sound. Apparently there's more trails that'll get you right up to Tobermory. I have never seen those maps yet, but you can actually get down to Orangeville as far over as Elmvale. So next slide. Some of the concerns are unsafe operation. This has been brought up by different groups. Unsafe operation, trespassing, walking trails, impaired driving, damage to public and private property. That's all true, but those are regulated under the different acts that come into play for ORVs, especially on roads. Not just on roads, but like you can't use your ATV on someone else's property without permission. That is trespassing, and that is something that the OPP would enforce. Next slide, please. As I said, some of the concerns that are identified, it's all misused by the rider. So and they are enforced under the different acts. So next slide, please. Wellington County does not permit off-road vehicles. The recent report dated on the March 9th, but it does say at the bottom of it, and I think this is because of Wellington North and Mapleton and possibly Minto. It says at the bottom of the report, further discussions on the operation of ORVs within the county will be undertaken. So there is a possibility minds can be changed if the need is there. So Grey County, Bruce County, and Dufferin County, they do allow ORVs to use some roads. Huron County just recently changed theirs in February, I think it was. So they're not allowed on any of the roads except for in Howick Township. Not sure why that is, but that's what they're doing now. So next slide, please. In this bylaw, it's written to permit off-road vehicles, to prohibit off-road motorcycles, to prohibit your extreme terrain vehicles, like your Argos, 6 wheels and up. The speed limits are set, but those speed limits are also set under the ATV Act. And then we're also setting the hours of operation and the time of year that they can be used. So some of the areas that are prohibited would be our community center grounds, our parks, our walking trails, boulevards, sidewalks, in our cemeteries, near our churches and funeral homes when services are in progress, and near the schools during the school year between the hours of 8 and 4:30 p.m. Next slide, please. So we also would like to prohibit them from the downtown cores just due to traffic, and near nursing homes and near our hospital. So next slide, please. Currently, there are people that are using their ATVs or ORVs on our municipal roads. And just if we pass a bylaw, it's going to be, it gives them it's a little easier to enforce with the bylaw, and it's going to give us some consistency with our neighboring municipalities that do allow ORVs on their roads. And that's all I have.
Okay. All right, I'm going to read the recommendation, and then we'll open it up for questions because then it's on the docket. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Elliott. The Council of Town of Minto receives the bylaw officer's April 6, 2021 report regarding ATV use in the Minto roads, ATV use on Minto roads bylaw, and considers a bylaw in open session. Okay, so now we're up for discussion. I'll have Jean first, and then Ron. Go ahead, Jean. And then
I'm interested to know what the OPP discussion was. I did read the county report on the same topic, and the OPP were definitely against authorizing it. I have concerns with us operating or opening it without county roads, because I don't really see where it's going to get you to if you can only run it on our country roads. And I have huge concerns about the policing. Is that the best use of their time to be chasing these? They're currently not pursuing the people. We've got somebody who goes bombing up and down our road all the time with a child with no helmet. We can't catch him to find out who it is to report him because he goes too fast. They don't adhere to the speed limits. We're looking for more accidents than we already have. I have safety concerns from this perspective, as is known. And in my career, I have seen some tragic accidents without them being on public roads. So what did the OPP have to say?
Derek, did you, we have Inspector.
Yep, through you, Mr. Mayor, Inspector Richardson is here. Maybe he would like to speak to Councillor Anderson's question. There he is.
There he is. Thank you, Inspector. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and through you, Mayor Bridge, to Councillor Anderson. At the risk of sounding political, the OPP are apolitical in the process, but always our concern is public safety. And I think it is fair to say, when you have a vehicle that has no external protection other than a helmet and it interacts with a motor vehicle, there's always room for dire outcome. I will agree that the ATVs are operated in many other areas, and there are few challenges when it's done so safely. The challenge becomes when it's done in a manner that is not safe. I don't know if that speaks to Councillor Anderson's question, but I'm certainly open to other inquiries. Thank you, Mayor Bridge.
Thank you. Jean, follow up.
So do you feel you'd be able to handle the increased calls? Because I'm sorry, the people who use these responsibly, my concern is they're coming down the road or they're coming on the side of the road. Now they want to access the road. They pop up out of nowhere. Nobody's going to be expecting them to be there. All of a sudden they're there. They're in front of you. We're looking for collisions. They're not stable vehicles. I have seen a 10-year-old child with his neck broken because it rolled over. I've seen a 9-year-old child who ran into the back of a tractor because his parents didn't show him how to turn it off before he got on it. He had a leg almost severed, and the only thing that stopped him from bleeding to death was the torsion that was applied to that by the mechanism of the injury. I've seen children who are riding on their parents' laps, who I spent hours picking the gravel out of their foreheads because they fell off because there's nothing to secure them, and people don't use them safely now. What would make us think that they're going to start using them safely when we allow them more access?
Okay, thanks, Jean. Deputy Mayor Turton, I think you're next, were you? Did you have your hand up? Oh, are you have to unlock.
Yeah.
There you go. I can't hear you, Dave.
Yeah, Ron is next.
Oh, sorry, Ron's next. Sorry. Go ahead, Ron.
Just a couple of things that, not agreeing or disagreeing with the bylaw in Palmerston. Even if we passed everything okay on the bylaw, if you own a four-wheeler, you can't get to a township road. Everything's either county road, even if you cross. Sometime you're going to have to drive down a county road or a Department of Highways road to get to a township road. Just no way that they're inbound in Palmerston. So if we have a four-wheeler, they'll just be able to operate them unless they can put it in the back of a carrier and take them out to the township road and drop them off. And again, Wellington County would have to change, or the Department of Highways would have to change for us to be able to access any township roads. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. I guess that'll be up to the driver how they would get to our township roads. So I'm not sure whether that was thought about when we discussed this or not.
Well, and I think Ron, just to answer that a little bit, that's why it says in the county thing that there has to be more discussion.
Yeah.
We didn't get into the details of the county, but I don't think that should be clouding our decision at this point, because Mapleton and Wellington North and Push Lynch talked about it. They're all in the same boat we are. They're all basically, well, we aren't yet, but certainly those ones like Center Wellington, Push Lynch, Aramosa, only year and ourselves have to actually do a bylaw. So this will be up for more discussion, I can tell you, at the county level.
Yeah, this isn't clouded my decision. I've got an idea where I'm going to go with this, but I just wanted to point that out, that I don't know how we can make a bylaw to get out of town if we had to in Palmerston.
Well,
but I guess it'll be up to the county to do that. And
we'll have to figure that out. If this, to just keep it focused on what we're doing today, and it's just what we have to do with our own right at this point in time. Am I right on that, Derek? Pretty well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct. We need to address our bylaw, and if the county within discussions chooses to change their mind, then that'll leave that avenue open.
Right. Thank you.
I can focus.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Elliott. Does the Councillor Turton next, and
Yes.
then I Mackenzie.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. I'd like to commend Cam and his staff, the staff of the town. They put together an amazing study. I mean, it does a really good job of pointing out the goods and the bads, and who is allowing this in their municipalities and who is not. They've talked to everybody. And I think what we have to decide here is, are we going to allow it or are we not going to allow it? And the pros and cons going forward. I understand that Inspector Richardson says public safety is primary, it's paramount. It's definitely everything that we do. We think about safety and whether we should be doing it or not. Motorcycles, four-wheelers, snowmobiles, cars. The guy behind the wheel of the automobile is the person that needs to stay on his own side of the road and be aware. And I think that's the big thing here, you guys, is awareness. Up until the group of three that brought this to our attention a few months ago about the bylaw and allowing it or not allowing it, it was a non-issue. So here today, we have to decide whether we are or whether we are not. And the comments from Cam pretty well says it all. I mean, we are trying to restrict the ATV drivers. And I mean, I'm in favor of this bylaw because I think we need it to go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor McKenzie, you're next, and then Councillor Dunstan. Oh, Councillor Dirksen, and then Councillor Dunstan. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If the bylaw passes, no one in Clifford can get to the access point, no matter what. Palmerston is in the same boat unless they go across private lands. Hairston and area can get there by crossing one county road, 2 county roads, and 15 miles of travel to get to the access point. So that's just one point I found. Do we know how many people are involved here? Is it a half a dozen or a dozen? And the other thing is, there's another part to this bylaw, and that's the urban centers, which we've been trying to address for the few years, I guess. And that needs to be done also, but to open up parts of an urban center and not, it's going to be a nightmare out there with vehicles going up certain streets and not others. And I'm not voting on it right now. I think we should wait until the county decides what they're doing with their roads would really help this bylaw out. Going from point A to point B.
I just asked for a clarification, Mark, on with Derek and maybe Cam on Clifford. Clifford, that's a provincial highway, and I believe there would be access there because provincial highways are allowed.
They're not allowed.
They are allowed.
You can go up a highway to, okay, but you still got to drive down a county road to get to the access point.
Not from Clifford.
That Howick or the Bruce Carrick is a county road across there.
Well, but going out of Clifford to get to, am I right or wrong on that, guys? I mean, I want somebody to step in, but I think I'm right.
Terry?
Yeah, for the most part in Minto, the MTO roads do permit ATVs to travel on them. My recollection is the only section it's restricted is from County Road 2. So just north of the office on Highway 89 to County Road 6.
Okay.
All the other MTOs are open for ATV travel. The section of the highway north of Clifford, so between Clifford and Mildmay, is an MTO road. We didn't check into the status in Huron County about it. I would assume that if Hairston to Clifford's open, then further on would be open as well, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
So across the boundary line, that's a county road from Highway 9 to Belmore, right?
I believe MTO was looking at redoing that road as part of the reconstruction this year. So I kind of believe it's theirs, not a county road, but again, I could be wrong.
But
yeah,
could we wait? All right.
I understand your concern about the county roads, Mark. I understand that that's been brought up. I totally think it's something that has to be addressed. Councillor Durst.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I don't think there's any argument that the ATVs can be unsafe, whether they're on roads or whether they're used on private lands or on trails or anywhere else. And I thought that Don brought us some good points about not wearing helmets and driving at night and speeding and under the influence of alcohol or drugs and more passengers than seats. But then, I kind of think you could say those exact same things about a motorcycle, and you could say almost those exact same things about automobiles, maybe not wearing seatbelts instead of not wearing helmets. Like you might have to switch out a couple of things, but really when it comes right down to it, the onus is on the operator of that vehicle, whatever that vehicle happens to be. And so I think it's important that people realize that these are dangerous pieces of equipment. I've got quite a few calls on this, advocating for both sides. Lots of advice out there. I guess one of the bigger concerns maybe was trespassing and damage to public and private property, especially private property, I guess. So I don't know whether this is going to increase or not. I mean, I would hope not. And I think that, we maybe need to do what we can to maybe some signage, make some signage available or something. Another thing I was thinking about is maybe we could point people to an ATV safety course, because like I said, people need to realize that these are dangerous. And I think that this whole thing is not just about getting people to trails. I know that was a big focus of Cam's very well done report. But it's also, it could be neighbors in the rural areas getting from one property to another to join another family to go ATVing on their own private property or the neighbor's private property. Like it really doesn't necessarily mean that they're going way off someplace to go four-wheeling for the day or whatever. My question was, those who are serious about driving on roads, do they need a license and insurance for their machine? I don't know that I saw that anywhere covered, and I'm just wondering if anyone knows of that. Like I would expect that they would, but I don't know for sure.
Somebody got that question? Go ahead, Derek.
Yeah. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dirksen. If they travel on road, they have to be licensed and insured.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Judy. Councillor Gunson.
Thanks, Mayor Bridge. So I just want to change the focus a little bit. So I did some studying and there's lots of stats out there. One that hit me was in 2015, Ontario residents spent $974 million on activities directly involving the operation of all-terrain vehicles. So right now in a pandemic, we're worrying about our small businesses. Wouldn't it be nice if we could bring more people to spend money in our town, right? So I think the first step in this process is allowing ATVs to access our roads. And then we work as a group and maybe join in a trail system and set trails and maybe get off the roads, maybe on farmers that would donate their land to let us go on, just like snowmobilers. We access those, and then there's less roads we're going to travel on. But I think the first step is passing the bylaw to get them access to the roads. And then we start working together as a group and maybe get some trails up towards Clifford and Mildmay and link into these trails. And then when you can do that, you can actually join the Trail Alliance, and the trail dollars, the permit dollars will actually come back to your community to work on those trails, right? So there's money there. We talk about safety. The biggest safety concern I have every morning is coming out of the Tim Hortons parking lot in Harrison, right? From the people parking. So, it's all over the place, right? So I've been to car accidents, to your point, Gene, and I get where you're coming from. I've been to car accidents where people have been taxied and had head-on collisions, right? So the safety lies with the person in control of that vehicle. So I think it's a great step in us passing this and joining our neighbors in allowing them. So that's my take on it.
Thanks, Jeff. And I'll just finish up if before we go back, if anybody has any further questions. A couple of things strike me, and thank you for the report. And I know there's a lot of research that's gone into this, and the province has opened this up somewhat because they were the ones that came out and said, and good point, Jeff, I didn't realize the amount of dollars that were spent on that. That's very interesting. But the fact is, both our neighbors and our northern neighbors and everybody else, I think from the OPP standpoint, it's going to be really difficult. And Gene, I understand that people are doing it already. They're running by your place, right? Illegally. If we put some more rules and regulations, then I hope that we can enforce it a little bit better. But if you're coming from Mapleton and going to Wellington North and you're using our back roads, how do you know you're not in Minto or whatever? So I think our neighbors and trying to get something more consistent works. I like the fact that because we had to do the bylaw, we actually put some rules and regulations in that give us a little bit more teeth in what we're doing, and we'll see how it works out. But that's my concern. And as far as the safety issues, it really comes down to the operators too. And I understand they're not perfect, but at the end of the day, you're supposed to go at a lower speed. And as far as the Wellington County situation, we'll have to get some clarification there, because I'm not sure that's a dead horse at this point in time, because I know talking to the other mayors, we have to come up with something, Mark, and on that, because it makes no sense that the province will let you go on a highway, but you can't go on a county road. So we'll see what happens there because there's going to be some pushback that areas. We have Aramosa and Push Lynch that I know want to use county roads because they're in the same boat. They want to get across the county road. Maybe just a matter of whether we just let you can cross a county road, maybe not go up the county road. I don't know, but we can look into that.
You
Sorry,
can cross, you can cross a county road now. You can cross it
Yeah.
at a 90-degree angle.
Right. And that's
You
the
can
way you
cross
do
them,
it.
but you
Yeah.
can't run up them.
Run up. Well, we'll see. And anyways, but that's not it. I think we have to do something ourselves now. So that's why we have to have the bylaw going now. We can't wait for the county. This could be going on until the fall with the county. So I want to get this done. At least have the discussion and then have the vote. Go ahead, Mark.
If we don't need a bylaw for snowmobiles, why do we need one for these vehicles?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor.
Mhm.
So Councillor McKenzie, the province is the one that passed legislation to allow these vehicles on roads. And it was an automatic unless you were a town. So ourselves and the town of Erin have to create our own bylaw because we're not included in the overall legislation that was passed at the province. So that's why we have to do a bylaw one way or another. And as Mayor Bridge has suggested, in the bylaw we're bringing forward to council, we've actually put in more restrictions that are in the actual provincial legislation, which we're allowed to do. But we've taken that step further and made a little bit more sort of firmer as it relates to our community and what we think is acceptable.
If it was just geared to the urban centers and our trails in the urban centers and leave the rest alone, there wouldn't be a problem, right? They can still use the roads to get access to where they want to go.
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor McKenzie. Well, here lies the problem in a nutshell. Regardless of whether we pass a bylaw or not, ATVs are still going to use our roads. They do now. The question becomes, do you have a bylaw that allows some level of enforcement that is a little stricter than what we currently have? And I would suggest it is, and that's why we recommended it to council.
But it's legal to use our roads, right, Derek, now? Our
No.
road roads?
No, not now.
No.
We have to pass a bylaw.
Because we're a town, not a township.
Correct.
That's unfortunate, Mark. There was just two. If we were the township of Minto and like the township of Wellington North, they didn't have to do anything. Their roads are, they can do it.
Well, can we not just designate certain roads rather than opening them all up to get to those points?
My own personal opinion, that would be a nightmare for the people that have to monitor them and do them. But that's, go ahead, Jean, and then we'll go. Go ahead.
So I have two questions. In the county report, it stated that no counties had been included in this law, not just Wellington County, no counties at all. The province just didn't mention them. They went to townships. Is that true? So no counties allows ATVs on their highways or county roads. And the second question I have is the policing of this. So if we're going to have a different set of rules than say other communities have, because we want to tighten it up. And I mean, I understand the financial and the people, we want people outside doing outside things. I get that part of it. But how are the police going to know which set of rules they're imposing if ours are different than other rules? Because that's my understanding, that OPP have to police this. We cannot. We're not asking CAM to go out and chase these people down, are we?
So Terry, do you want to answer the first part? I'll answer the second part, and maybe
Okay.
Inspector Richardson can help.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Anderson, you're absolutely right. None of the counties fall under the legislation that automatically allow for ATVs on their county roads. Having said that, though, the counties can pass a bylaw to allow for them on their roads, which some of them have. So it's not an automatic in, but they can choose to allow them or not. Basically the same as everyone else.
Yeah, it just seems to me that the province did not enough research on this and doesn't understand the way municipal law works across the entire province by eliminating or not including all of the counties. It seems rather backward to me.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Anderson. So for your second part of your question, Councillor Anderson, so my experience with our OPP is that every municipality in Wellington County have different sets of bylaws. So they are quite familiar with having to enforce different sets of bylaws throughout the county. So I don't know if this would be much different, but certainly OPP Inspector Richardson is here. He may be able to add a little bit to that. And there he is.
Thank you, Derek. Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Anderson. Yeah, we would certainly have to adapt to the different bylaws within each municipality, and we'd have to create some internal messaging and documentation that outlines the difference in the bylaws and what the enforceability is. Our general focus, however, would likely be on the provincial aspect of things and the regulations for the ATVs, such as the equipment, the licensing requirement, the compulsion to have insurance, the safe use of the ATV, alcohol consumption, make sure there's an appropriate number of passengers on it and that the ATV itself is safe. That would be our primary focus, and then we would delve down into the bylaws as well.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Elliott?
Yeah, just quickly, it seems the county is the county bylaw is the issue, sort of where we're at now. I'm not sure whether the county has it in their agenda coming forward or in the near future that this is here, that they want to deal with it. So either we ask you, Mayor Bridge, to bring it to the county council's attention, that we'd like them to deal with this bylaw if we pass ours, or we do a resolution from our council asking them to deal with it. I think that's something we have to do in the future, because they're not automatically going to put it on there unless someone asks.
I do believe that's going to be asked fairly shortly, Councillor Elliott, from either myself or another mayor will ask it, I'm sure.
Okay.
But I certainly can bring that forward. I think we have to deal with our bylaw first and then go from there. I don't want to wait on our decision for a county thing, because it could take, in the county, you're going to be gone for the summer.
Yeah.
This isn't going to get done till the fall, probably back up onto their docket. So I don't think there's a need for us to delay it, because we have to make that point.
I'm not asking that at all. I'm saying if we pass the bylaw, if it moves forward today, then we would ask you to bring it forward. And if you need our support, then we could send it through as a resolution to help you with that.
Okay, let's finalize the bylaw first, and then we'll if Derek, is that right? Then we can maybe do that.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, certainly it's a council's will to endorse the report and bylaw. And then if there's other wants to come from this report, then you may want to ask.
Okay, that sounds good. Councillor McKenzie, and then maybe I'm going to wrap it up and go for the vote. Go ahead, Councillor McKenzie.
Through you to Inspector Paul. He's still with us?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So in your opinion, by passing the bylaw and opening all our roads to ATVs, is that in the best interest in the municipality and yours too, for safety?
In fairness, that's a tough question for the inspector to handle, but go ahead, Paul.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and Councillor McKenzie, that is a very difficult position to be in, because opinions are subject to interpretation. And I think, in fairness to the councillors, and they are representing their constituents, I don't think it would be fair for me to give an opinion, because that would be personal and not representative of the OPP.
Thanks, Paul. Okay, can I call the question? All right, anybody opposed?
I'd like a recorded vote.
Sure, you can. Yeah, I was going to ask that, Councillor Anderson, if you wanted recorded vote, Annalene. Okay, so I'm going to go with, I'll just go through it. Hang on, Councillor Anderson. I'll go through with my little screen there. So Deputy Mayor Turton.
Yay.
Councillor Anderson.
Nay.
Councillor Gudson.
Yes.
Councillor McKenzie. Nay. Okay, he's got his good work, Mark. Councillor Elliott.
Yes.
Councillor Dirksen.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, and I'm a yes. Okay, it's passed, and now do you want to bring Councillor Elliott or Councillor somebody want to bring up the fact that we're going to go to the county and ask for some how do you want to say that, Derek? I don't know.
Yeah, so oh, sorry, Councillor Gunson.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councillor Gunson.
So I was going to request that the town of Minto requests the County of Wellington to allow ATVs as described in the attached bylaw to be permitted on county roads within the town of Minto.
Okay.
I'd second that.
All right. Okay, do you want a recorded vote on this too, or you want to just go yea or nay on this one?
Yea or nay is fine.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Gene and Mark, are you? I don't see your sign. Are you? Anybody? Okay.
We're dealing with another motion now.
No, all for it. Hands up if you're for it.
We've passed that first motion.
Yes, we did. This is whether we go to ask them about Wellington County doing something.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what we're voting on right now.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, so you got that, Annalene? Okay,
Yes,
good.
Mayor Bridge, I do.
We'll do that. We'll print that up and I'll get it in front of the county as quickly as possible. I thank you. Good discussion and good report. Thanks, everybody. Okay, what's up next here? I've turned it over to Councillor Dirksen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have one report on the books tonight with 5 different tenders, and I'll call on Roads and Drainage Manager Mike McIsaac to take us through it.
Thank you, Councillor Dirksen. So yeah, this report is basically the results of 5 various tenders that closed last week. So the first one that was closed was for dust suppressant within the town of Minto on the gravel roads, and the successful the award would go back to Daily Dust Control. They have a slight increase over their price of last year, roughly around $7, which primarily cost of fuels and stuff like that for this year. The second item was for the maintenance gravel on the gravel roads as well. And we only had the one submission from Elmer Dennison Contracting Limited, and they had a slight increase of almost $1.50 over last year's price, primarily for the same reasons, the price of fuels. The sidewalk installation tender, we had lots of interest there with some pretty tight competition there. And the low bid with that one is from Autoform Contracting out of London. And they actually submitted a price almost $6 less than the price that we got last year. And with this company, this is the firm that typically does the subcontracting for the Moorfield Excavating and some of the other various contractors in our area for that sort of work. The fourth item was for the various paving, which included the third line between Whites Road and County Road 109 for a sand padding on that road, as well as surface for Noble Family Road in the Industrial Park in Palmerston, which pricing there came in very well. Seeing the asphalt out in the township actually almost $10 under last year's submissions. And then the final item was for a 1/2-ton pickup truck with only one submission coming from Leslie Motors out of Hairston. Is there any questions on any of these various tenders that were closed?
Okay, not seeing any questions. Is there any one of those 5 items that anybody would like pulled out of the motion? I don't want anybody voting against the motion because they don't like one part. I don't think that's going to be an issue, but I just want to give you that option. Okay, I will read it. Recommendation is that Council of the Town of Minto receive the report from the Roads and Drainage Manager dated March 2nd, 2021 regarding the various tender results. And further, that the Council of the Town of Minto awards tender 2021-01 request for dust suppressant to Daily Dust Control for a unit price of $377.58 per flake equivalent ton plus HST. And further, the Council of the Town of Minto awards tender 2021-02 to supply, load, haul, and spread granular A to E. Dennison Contracting Limited for a unit price of $9.95 per ton plus HST. And further, that the Council of the Town of Minto awards tender 2021-03 to remove, dispose, and replace sidewalk to Autoform Contracting London Limited for a unit price of $82.75 per square meter plus HST. And further, that the Council of the Town of Minto awards tender 2021-04 asphalt resurfacing to the Murray Group for a total tender price of $190,838.05 plus HST. And further, that the Council of the Town of Minto awards tender 2021-05 truck specification for pricing to Leslie Motors Limited for a 2021 half-ton total unit price of $29,592 plus HST. Okay, anybody come up with a question while I read all that? Okay, seeing none, is there anyone who is opposed? And I am not seeing any hands, so I will pass the chair back. So that is carried, and I will pass the chair back to Mayor Bridge. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Councilor Dirksen. Good work, Mike, and lots of action happening out there. That's great. I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. To welcome our treasurer to the meeting today, and we want to talk about the background study for the 2021 development charges. So go ahead, Gord.
Okay, thank you, Chair Turton. So it seems like we've had a development charge report every month, and in February we passed the amendment to the interest rate policy to be consistent with the rest of the county. And then in March, we had Andrew Grunda of Watson's go through the background study. So kind of a lot of housekeeping measures, as you recall, both to incorporate the new interest rate policy and also catch up on all the legislative amendments that were enacted in the past year and a bit. So we've posted it. I believe we've had no comments either pro or against. And financially, the changes are very small. $59 on a single family and 1 cent per square foot on non-residential construction. So I think they did a pretty good job of explaining all the ins and outs last month. So certainly if we do pass the bylaw today, it comes into effect. However, there's still a 40-day appeal period, but it will be in effect today. So happy to take any questions or anything.
Questions for our treasurer. I know that we've had, like you said, Treasurer Duff, we've talked about this over the last 2 or 3 meetings, and I mean, it's not a huge hit, which is a good thing. So hearing no questions, the motion's moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Mayor Bridge, that the recommendation is Council of the Town of Minto accepts the Treasurer's report dated April 6, 2021, and considers the passage of the related amending development charges bylaw in regular session. Is anyone opposed? That's carried. Thank you very much, and I'll pass the chair back to our mayor.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor Turton. And now our next item is other businesses disclosed, and I think I got Councillor, what I got first here. Judy, you want to go first, Councillor Dirksen?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just wanted to remind council that Earth Day is coming up on the 22nd of April. Not sure what our activities are going to be because of recent announcements and pending announcements. But anyways, I have noticed driving the rural roads that there, and I'm sure the case maybe is the same in towns too, but there's a lot of garbage in our road ditches. I would suggest that a lot of it comes from recycling boxes. There's also some Tim Hortons cups, lots of those. not very many beer bottles, which I find interesting. So I don't know whether that means people aren't driving as much, so they're not drinking and driving as much. That's a good thing. Either that or one of my neighbor kids got down the road before I did. But anyways, they didn't pick up anything else though. So anyways, I'm pretty sure that there just isn't as many beer bottles being thrown out. So I think that's a good thing, and I hope that means people aren't doing as much drinking. But anyways, so the kids, well, it sounds like they're going to have a little bit of time maybe this week, and then next week is spring break. I do think that parental supervision is important when you've got your kids out on the roads in the ditches picking stuff up. But you know, if everybody picked up kind of in front of their properties, it would make a huge big difference to the look of our community. And it's really got to be done early, because that grass gets growing up pretty quickly and covers it up, but it's still there and it's still causing trouble. So anyways, just wanted to encourage people to get out, get some exercise, and do something great for the environment at the same time.
Great, thanks, Judy. Maybe I'll get some messaging out on social media on that. Yeah. Councillor Gutson.
Thanks, Mayor Bridge. So the Harrison firefighters, we had a Zoom meeting last week, and the pancake breakfast topic was brought up, and we've decided to cancel the in-dining portion of it. And we're going to change the menu a bit, and we're going to try and stick with the same date of June 5th and go with a smoke chop dinner drive-through. So you can pre-purchase tickets and drive through by the fire hall and pick your meal up. So keep posted for more details on that.
Thank you.
That's all I got.
Great, thank you. Deputy Mayor Turton.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. So a little bit similar to what Judy's preaching about. I understand through the Wellington Advertiser that there's a branch day on April 26th, and I'm not sure where I read that. And I was hoping, Mayor Bridge, that you could tell us a little bit more about it. I understand that if you have branches on your property, you can set them on the, so Mayor Bridge, sorry.
Okay, it's from solid waste, and I do believe, and Mike might be able to help us with that. Do you have a date, Mike, on that?
April 26th.
April 26th, okay.
Can you?
Can we get that out in our social, is it out in social media now? Mike, you know, or Belinda?
I don't know if it's out yet, but the parameters around this, like they have sizes for the branch and debris pickup in their pamphlet that was circulated. But I can get talking to Belinda about that and make sure that all that information is getting put out there to everybody once again.
Yeah, this is I think this is the first time we've done it, I think, Deputy Mayor Turton, right?
It was done in the fall. They did a couple.
Yeah,
of
sorry, you
pickups
did it in the
last.
fall, but this was when, okay.
Yeah, and then I believe they're going to do, if I remember correctly, they're going to do 2 dates in the spring and 2 in the fall, which is one more for each than they were originally planning.
Yeah,
they were going to only provide the one per season kind of thing, but they've increased that.
Okay, well, let's make sure we get that out there, because it'd be great to have for sure.
Second question then, Mike. If I was going to rake my lawn, and where would I be putting all the scrub in the either paper bags, or where would I be taking that?
I'd be putting any of that debris into the paper bags, and then the stick bundles, based on the parameters, bundling them up into the appropriate size that way.
So what if I take in Harrison down behind Spear Seeds? Is that a go again, or is that fall?
That's really, with this service, we are trying to steer away from providing that, because we basically have to dispose of that material at our cost when the county's providing that service as part of the taxes.
Yeah,
so if I have all that stuff bundled up and on the curb on April 26th, the county will take it away
during that week. I believe
they provide. It's the week of April 26th. Okay,
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. And let's try to, a good point, Deputy Mayor Turton. Let's try to get that out there, because we don't want to be using what we used to use the dumps. It's nice enough that the county finally took this on, because we can actually take all those scraps and everything and take them and recycle them. So that's kind of neat. They'll go to, I think they go to All Treat to be honest with you. Right, Mike?
Yeah, and I have one more thing to add to that. The county actually provides that service with their waste bin at the transfer site year round now.
Oh, there you are.
So
Okay,
they
good.
provide the pickup on those specified dates, but then they do provide that those bin or that bin at the transfer station year round.
And that's free, Mike? That's free,
Yes,
right?
for the
Yeah,
for the
free, I
yard
thought.
waste. Yeah.
Yard waste. Yeah, good.
Yep.
Jude, Councilor Dirksen.
I just wanted to say, I'm assuming this is just for urban built up areas. This is not for rural areas.
Well, I don't know.
My lawn's pretty big. I don't think they'll pick it all up.
No, I don't think they'll pick it up. You have to do that yourself. Jude.
Just wanted to make that clear for anybody who might be listening and wondering.
Right, good. And I'm going to just wrap up. What time we got? Oh, yeah, a bit of time. Okay. Just a few things, and there's so much been happening. I just wanted to give you a bit of an update on what's been coming out of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities and some of the things that obviously with the federal budget coming down shortly, lots of great announcements. I know this put a smile on Treasurer Duff's face when they came out that we doubled the gas tax again this year. So that, remember last year they talked about us using next year's gas tax and sort of doubling. This is an actual doubling of the gas tax. So I do believe, Gord, this gives us another $260,000.
Yes, that's right, Mayor Britz. It's 96% or thereabouts of our regular allocation. So it's about 264,000 on top of the 270,000. So yeah, we were happy. And as you mentioned, we were thinking that might happen last year, but I guess there were so many other things to do. So we're happy to see that. Sure.
Yeah. And so I know that Derek is working with the staff to figure out what we can do with that, whether there's other projects we can bring forward that maybe weren't in our budget from before, right, Derek?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that's absolutely correct. We are working with all the department heads, and we will be meeting with Treasurer Duff to go through some recommendations that we could bring forward to council.
Thank you. And I did mention it before, Jean, and I'm with you. I'm so frustrated with our rural internet. But we're lucky enough to hear from the province at $2 billion, and there'll be more coming from the feds. And our SWIFT program is totally out there now as far as there's shovels in the ground in all the projects. And we've come in really well. If you look to that presentation I made, I can actually tell you now it's closer to $280 million that the third parties came in with a whole bunch more money in those projects when we got them all done. I think in the numbers you saw was at 260 million. So good success at SWIFT. We have a SWIFT meeting on Friday, and I'm sure I'm going to hear some good news, hopefully, and where we're heading in the future for SWIFT 2.0. So we're looking forward to that. The other two things that really came down, and I don't know if you were able to see them or read about them, but kind of affects us is one, the federal government. For years we've been talking to them through the rural forum about the fact that there is rural transportation needs out there, and for years all the transportation sort of been settled around that the subway gets built, or that big road, or the GO train, or whatever, all those things. So we did finally hear, they heard us, and they put $250 million in a budget for rural transportation. And our RideWell program was actually, when they made the announcement from the federal minister made the announcement of infrastructure, they had us talk about our RideWell program, even though it's been really hit hard with not able to share it and everything. But that's one of the innovative things that can happen in rural transportation. So I'm hopeful that the county will get some money. Our money from RideWell came from the province, but maybe some federal money coming down the pike shortly, and that might help our RideWell program, which may maybe put more vehicles on the road for us, and which we can't do now under our restrictive budget. And one other thing that's out there that I haven't seen yet, but I know it's coming, is they're going to put money into active transportation. Now, people don't realize, but that means trails and other things like that, that there's going to be some money. So hopefully the Trails Committee, I'm hopeful, I got my fingers crossed, everybody's on the Trails Committee, that they could come up with some federal money to actually work on active transportation, which would give us maybe some more dollars to either expand our trails or fix them up better than they are now. And there's some work on trails. I know, Derek, we're going to get into it a little bit later in the year, but good news on that. So that's all I have. But I thought I'd bring you up to date. Oh, maybe I will bring you up to date on the public health issues. I am quite concerned. You saw the numbers from the weekend or the 4 days we had off. That was just amazingly. Jean, you must shake your head and see what's happening. And Dr. Mercer, I had a call with her before this meeting because we have a public health meeting tomorrow. So I was going over the public health meeting. There'll be some updates at that public health meeting. She did feel very strongly that we had to do something with the schools at this point in time, mainly because the variant that's out there now is really working its way through what we would have thought in the previous COVID situation didn't bother them too much, which to the people between the ages of 20 and 40, that, you know, if they did get infected, they were just light cases, no big deal. And now we're seeing those people coming down and going into our ICUs and going into our hospitals, and that's unfortunate. And one of the things is the kids can bring it from the home to them and to the parents, and the parents, you know, it's not good. And we're going to have to really tighten down. And I think the province is going to come out with some really tough things tomorrow. So we went ratcheted right up from that nice little level we had 2 weeks ago to really bang your heads on gray anyways. We're just the top end of red. So stay tuned. There's going to be more stuff with our economic development people. We had a meeting today at the county level. We're ready to go if we have to do some more help for businesses and making sure that we have some money available to them. And we're so close if we can get the vaccines. Unfortunately, we keep hearing all these 3 million vaccines coming and all that, but we've never seen them at our level yet. We've still been getting about 8,000 or 9,000 a week, and we've been putting 8,000 or 9,000 into people's arms every week. So it'd be nice if we can get that to 20,000 in Wellington, Dufferin, Guelph, and we could get to the end of this a little faster. But we don't seem to be getting those vaccines. And go ahead, Jean. Did you want to make a comment?
Wellington County is the talk of the health world as far as our local health world, as far as vaccination goes. We've done a really, really good job of getting them out there. It is quite an undertaking, but this last wave and the announcement by Mr. Ford, I don't think anybody was listening very much to it. It was poorly timed, I think, and people are just done. I drove to Fergus to work on Sunday. There wasn't a mask in sight. There were kids at the playgrounds with their parents, 6 of them or 8 of them on some little turntable thing. There was no 1 foot between them, and nobody had a mask on. And the emergency department was full, chock full of people. There are people that have been sitting there for 8 hours. The system is getting completely backed up, and they left at 8 hours and had not been seen. They just had to go home to put their kids to bed. Right. So it like, if we don't, and I get it, I understand everybody's frustration. Totally. I understand the business's frustration, but if we don't shut it down, and they have to shut it down, like shut it down and enforce it, because people aren't listening. They're done. They're tired and they're done.
Yeah. So I think it was a good news thing about taking those 3 days and not having those kids to school for the next 3 days. That you know, whatever. I mean, she's taking a lot of abuse on that, but at the end of the day, we have to look what's best, and we all have to. You're right, Jean. We have to get down and buckle down and try to do our best. So, anyways, Councillor Dirksen and Councillor Elliott.
Yeah, Toronto. I just noticed that Toronto is also shutting down their schools for the next days. So, we in Wellington, Dufferin, Guelph, I probably have those in the wrong order. This health unit, I think we're leading again, but I think we're going to have lots of followers, and I wouldn't be surprised that'll be part of the announcement, a blanket announcement for tomorrow that'll say a lot more. So
I think you're right. Go ahead, Councillor Elliott.
I'm not sure whether I heard this correctly or not, but Premier Ford did say that he wanted to concentrate the vaccines in the hot spots, would be Toronto, Peel, such like, If that's the case, is he taking our vaccines away from our rural communities to concentrate, or as they come in, he's going to designate them to that area? So I don't know.
That's a good question, Councillor Elliott, and brought up today, and I won't get into it, but I'm hoping to get some ideas by tomorrow. When they're talking about hotspots, we have some postal codes in our areas that are pretty well hotspots too. But at the end of the day, what I would hope that he does is if they're sitting in people's freezers because they don't have a system in place to get them in people's arms, then they should be going to where people can get them in their arms.
Right.
That's what I would say, and I think Jean made that point. We are good about getting them in the arms. We don't have anything sitting around. When we get them in our freezers, we get them out. We got people on board. We could do 20,000 a week, 25,000. We could ramp up to 50,000 if we had the vaccines. We have the ability to do it. And so my message to the government will be through public health is that, yeah, people that can get them in people's arms, let's get them done. And we should be, hopefully by middle of April, through to the 60-year-olds that wanted them. So basically we can start getting into that phase 2, which I think we really got to get into, is some of our workers out there that are in the front lines, our grocery store workers, our food handlers, those are types of things that in some of our businesses, some of our manufacturing and whatever, because those are important because they have to go to work, right? And those are important. Hopefully most of our health workers that wanted it have obviously got it, and we want to get more of them, Jean, getting it. So put it out there. Like if we right now there's 30,000, we have 30,000 people that have registered to get the vaccine in Wellington Dufferin in phase 2. They're registered, they're ready to go. We can pick them up if we get the vaccines. We can go get them. So those are 30,000 that don't have an appointment yet, but they're in the system. So that's really good news. We're not sitting there with an empty bucket. So if we get the vaccines, we can get them out to get people appointments, get them done. Anyways, we're almost to 5. I'm dragging it. But we can have a 10-minute break if you can now, and then we have to come back. Don't leave, just stay on your thing. Just go to whatever, Annalene, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Just please mute and you can shut down your camera if you'd like. And please be back just before 5 so we can start right on time.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks. We're back, and little delay there when we had to wait till 5 o'clock for the public meetings. We have 2 public meetings today, and we'll start them right now. This public meeting is for William Street, Clifford, 22554-283 Ontario Limited. I'll act as the chair of the public meeting. I'll call the meeting to order, and Clerk McRobb to ensure that any member of the public present is recorded on the attendance record. I'll state the following: if a person or public body does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or make a written submission to the town of Minto before the bylaws passed, person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the town of Minto to the local planning appeal tribunal. And the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there are reasonable grounds to do so. I'll turn it over to Clerk McRobb to state the municipal address, legal description of the property, the purpose and effect of the application, and date notices are sent. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The property subject to the proposed amendment is located on Plan Clifford Lot 87 to 89 with a municipal address of 21 William Street South. The subject lands are approximately 0.3 hectare, 0.74 acres in size. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone a portion of the subject land from residential zone R1B to residential zone R2 to facilitate the construction of 2 semi-detached residential dwellings and 1 single detached dwelling. Additional relief may be considered at the meeting. The notices were mailed to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on March 12, 2021, and posted on the subject property. The following comments were received from the junior planner of County of Wellington, from our planning technician from the town of Minto, from the environmental planning technician for the Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, and from Laverne Hauser and Yvonne Hauser, letters of concern, and they've all been attached. Back to you, Mayor Bridge.
Thanks, Clerk McRobb, and I'll call on the county planner, provide comments and propose amendments if they have it. There we are. Matt, is it Matthew doing it? Okay, go ahead, Matthew.
Yes, let me know if you can hear me. I got a new mic here, so.
Yep, you're
we're all
loud
good.
and clear.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. So thank you, Chair. Before you today is a zoning bylaw amendment seeking to rezone the subject lands from residential R1B to residential R2. The applicant is seeking the aforementioned amendment to facilitate the construction of 2 semi-detached dwellings and 1 single detached on the subject lands. The application is before council simply because the R1B zoning does not permit semi-detached dwellings. All in all, the application generally conforms to the zoning bylaw as well as the official plan and provincial policy, and planning staff have no concerns, and I welcome any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Do you want to wait? We'll get Ashley to do hers and then we'll open it for questions. Okay, Ashley, please.
Yeah, so I'd just like to add that the applicant's not seeking any specialized zoning relief. They're intending to comply with all the zoning provisions of R2 for setbacks, lot coverage, minimum floor area, maximum height, all of that. Saugeen Valley has indicated they have no concerns and they're in favor of the development, as is the town. I think it's important to note that new housing types are needed to support a more attainable housing supply, especially in today's market. And the official plan of the county recognizes that semi-detached homes help respond to this need. Prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant will be required to submit a grading and drainage plan, as well as a servicing plan, engineering estimate, and securities up front. And I did speak to the individuals who had the letters of concern. I would say that they were more inquiries about setbacks, lot sizes, all that kind of stuff. But they did have some concerns about grading and drainage. So I did let them know that that will all be reviewed by our engineer prior to any building permits being issued. But they have indicated they would like to still be kept in the loop about that, which we will do.
Great, thank you. Okay, any questions at this point in time for the 2 reports? Deputy Mayor Turton.
So I have a dozy question. It looks to me like 89 is the biggest lot there. Is that fair? Maybe not, maybe not. I'm wondering, if he wanted to, Mr. Williamson wanted to put a duplex on lot 89, could he put 3 semis? Or is there not enough room? Or what's the thought there, Ashley?
Well, I know actually, sorry, Alan Williamson, the owner, and his consultant, Jeff Wiesman, is planning on attending the meeting. So I don't think they've been promoted yet, but
okay,
they were looking.
I can wait. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna, yeah, that's a good one for them. That was the next up. Okay. All right. Okay, anything, I'll ask the applicant and their agent to provide comments. If they're there now, there's Jeff.
Yes, yes, I am. Thank you,
Thank
Mayor
you.
Bridge.
There's
So
Alan. Okay, good.
the plan is really to have a single family dwelling at the corner. I know that lot is wider. It's 23 meters wide, but one thing that is a constraint to the lot, if you will, is the exterior side yard. That is the distance to Nelson Street. We've proposed the house to be 7.6 meters, the side of the house 7.6 meters away from Nelson Street. The minimum is 6. So it'd be a tight fit to put in two semis in there. Put another semi in that one. Yeah, that's a good idea to present that picture.
Yeah.
I could also answer to that. So we were down that road actually, but that corner, some of its services come from Nelson Street, and it was not suitable to cost effective to service a semi with the some of the services coming off of Nelson Street rather than William Street.
Great. Okay. Thanks. Any other questions for the applicants? I just want to make a comment, Alan. I'm really pleased with this. This has been a lot that I've been sitting there for quite a while, and I always thought it would be a great infill lot, and especially with the way that on William Street we've been putting in the old ball diamond, putting the semis up, and how well they've sold and got going, and I think just really adds value to the community. So thanks very much for investing in our community on this.
You got it.
Go ahead. Okay, we have nobody registering against the opposition, so any more questions from the council? Don't see anything. So I'll state the following. If you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, NOG 170, or email at annaleen@town.minto.on.ca. There's no further comments. I'll adjourn the public meeting. Thank you, participants, for coming, and good luck on your project.
Thank you.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor Gudson, that the Town of Minto Committee of the Whole convenes in the Committee of Adjustment. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, we're there. Okay. This is Wellington Road 5, Dan Sinclair. I will call the public hearing to order and publicly state any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set a precedent. Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. I will state that the public hearing is to consider minor variance application MV 2021-03 for Dan Sinclair. I will call on the Secretary Treasurer McRobb to state the following information.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge.
Legally described. You can do that. Go
The
ahead.
subject property is legally described as part lot 20 concession 3 in the town of Minto with frontage on Wellington Road 5, Whites Road. The subject property is approximately 7,504.6 meters squares or 8,778.8 feet squared in size. The purpose and effect of the application is to reduce the minimum minor separation 1, MDS 1, between the subject property with the proposed rural residential use and the nearest barn. Section 6.17.1 of the Town of Minto Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 01-86 as amended requires a separate lot with a residential use to comply with an MDS 1 setbacks. This application is to satisfy a condition of consent application B69-19 that was granted provisional approval by the Wellington County Land Division Committee on September 10th, 2020. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. The notices were mailed to property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on March 25th, 2021, and posted on March 26th, 2021 on the subject property. Comments have been received from the planner of the County of Wellington, our planning technician for the Town of Minto, and that's it. I'll put it back to Mayor Bridge.
Thanks, Secretary McRobb. I just got that your title right on this one. I will call on the county planner, Matt, if you want to. Sorry, Deputy Mayor, did you have a?
Yes, sir, Mayor Bridge. I just got a text from Dan, and he is trying to get on.
Okay, I was wondering because he said he was.
Is there some reason why he can't get on, Annaleen? There he is. Okay, good.
Okay, he probably was just in the waiting room. Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
All right.
It appears that Matt is not here anymore.
Okay.
But
well,
that's fine. His report can stand for itself, but Ashley can speak.
And I'll give Ashley, and Ashley can probably answer any of the county questions if needed. Go ahead, Ashley.
So this property is located on Whites Road, and it, as Annalee mentioned, is in the process of being severed from 8871 Wellington Road 5. So the purpose of the severance is to create a parcel of land suitable for Dan's parents to build a retirement home. It's a single-story bungalow that's more easily accessible for them. This property is directly adjacent to the two-story home that they have owned for the past 30 years. So that is the thought process behind doing this parcel. So the purpose of this variance is to provide relief from the required MDS 1 setbacks to the lot line of the subject property from the nearest barn. This is because there's not an existing dwelling yet on this proposed property. So then the MDS 1 has to be calculated to the lot line. So the proposed lot line is approximately 70 meters, so just over 200 feet, whereas the minimum distance required based on calculations from the county is 436 meters. So you should also keep in mind too that this doesn't mean that the building will be 70 meters from the barn. They'll still have to comply with all the zoning provisions and setbacks and all that stuff. This is strictly to the lot line. So the county, and in consultation with Linda before she retired, indicated that this would be minor in nature, and that's what the county's report speaks to. The town also believes it's minor in nature and that it maintains the intent and general purpose of the official plan and the zoning and represents desirable and appropriate development. So really it is just satisfying a condition of their severance application.
Okay, And I guess maybe I'll have Dan speak now if you want, Dan, and then we'll ask for questions. Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, Mayor Bridge is, you can hear me now?
Yep, you're
Okay.
good.
So the purpose of this, the severance, Ashley stated, is for my parents. I'd like to build them a home on there. We purchased the rail land in the conditions of the severance. One of the conditions was record of site condition because of the rail land. We have got the record of site condition back. It's all approved. There was zero trace of anything in the groundwater and on the surface. So we're in the middle of registering the plan, and until the plan is registered, my environmental record of site condition can't be applied until we get the R plan, which comes with the severance and all the approvals for this. The barns have been there for quite some time, as well as my dad's house. The barns were actually built after my dad's house was built. So, you know, I think we're being very reasonable for what we're asking. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dan. And just stay on in case there's questions, okay?
Yep.
I'll open it up to the council now if you have any questions about any of the reports. Judy.
Okay, so I think this is actually a lot line adjustment, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. It's kind of a severance, but okay. You know, this is the builder and the first residents. They're not going to be the people who are going to complain because they obviously want to build there. So this is the kind of thing, though, that causes some challenges to the neighborhood in the future. So, and I don't want you to misconstrue this as being negative comments necessarily. I just want to be careful with it. So is there something that says on for future owners, like on the deed, that says, hey guys, you are parked pretty darn close to a barn, and you're also parked pretty close to a farm that could expand and even build that barn bigger, and you know, too bad for you, sort of thing. And I don't want to be trite about it, but is there kind of something in place that kind of protects the farm from a future residents who might decide that it's maybe not that nice living that close to a barn?
Okay, who wants to answer that? Who's going on that one? Terry? Or Ashley?
I can speak to it. So with respect to the minor variance and the existing house, this is actually being applied to the property line of the new lot. So the house is existing. If Dan's parents were to sell everything and move right now, without completing the severance, then the house would be in the same situation as it is currently. The other thing just to note is that the existing barn, according to our current MDS requirements, is too close as it is to Dan's parents' existing house. If they were to expand, they would be looking at getting zoning relief on their own, even if they were to expand towards the east. So I believe that answers all your questions. But
okay, so that barn got built without proper MDS measurements. Then is that what you're saying?
The barn addition was constructed prior to the MDS requirements.
Oh, I see. Okay.
It required a nutrient management plan through the municipal nutrient management bylaw, but it didn't apply MDS in most cases.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
If I can mention something too. When we purchased the property too, throughout this process, I've learned a lot about this, and actually through my lawyer and the planner that we worked with at the county, and there was a date on that MDS requirement when that came into effect, and when that rail land parcel was created. So when we went back on it, we had got asked from the county and my planner when the date was at, and Follis and Palmerston did the work for us. And it was created, that lot was created a long time before the MDS actually bylaws came into effect. So it's a very tricky thing here because, you know, we had argued with it a little bit at the county and said, you know, that it is a viable lot, zoned agricultural, and that, you know, with that it was created before those dates. So it's a lot line adjustment. They call it a severance at the county. I call it a lot line adjustment because we're not really creating another parcel. We're just moving the lines and making it better, I feel. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and actually, Councilor Dirksen, it's a good point you make, because there is that, and having said that, if somebody wants to expand their barn, and I guess what Terry's saying, and which I didn't realize, is they'd have to do that anyways because it was an existing. But that's a good point, because you don't want to tie somebody's hands up down the road, and yeah, that's why it's there. Councilor Anderson.
I just have a question. Is this then two separate lots? I couldn't quite get that from my reading of this. Is it two separate lots of property, or is it one with two houses proposed to be on it for future sale down the road? Would that be two separate lots, or is it one property?
So I can field this, Councilor Anderson. Currently, it is two separate properties, one being the rail land and one being the house that Dan's parents are on. So
Okay.
as Dan mentioned, this is just reconfiguring what belongs to which parcel to essentially allow a better buildable area associated with the corner triangular rail land, plus where the pond used to be at that corner, opposed to building a house within a 66-foot right of way.
Okay, so is it two lots?
It is two separate lots.
It will be two separate lots with two separate houses, so they could sell the previous house once the bungalow was built.
That is correct, yep.
And then, so further to Councillor Dirksen's questions, then, so if they're buying that, they would be buying it with obviously the knowledge that that house also is within less distance that is technically required from the barn.
That's correct.
Because it was all created before those rules came into place.
Yes, the only difference is the vacant lot where they're going to build on will have this minor variance associated with it.
Okay.
So just to clarify that up for this new area, or new buildable area, let's call it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, then Secretary Treasurer McRaw will provide the resolutions. Did you want to, how do you want to do that, Emily?
Through you, Mayor Bridge, just from the conversation, I maybe will provide you with the approval one.
Yeah, start with that one.
To vote on. So it would be that the Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment approves the application by Dan Sinclair for the property legally described as Part Lot 20 Concession 3 in the Town of Minto with frontage on Wellington Road 5 Whites Road to reduce the required minimum distance separation 1, MDS 1, between the subject property with a proposed rural residential use and the nearest barn from 436 meters, 1,429 feet to 70 meters, 229.66 feet. Relief is granted from the minimum distance separation 1, MDS 1 for the subject property. Okay. So Mayor Bridge, you would need a mover and a seconder for that.
Mover and a seconder, Deputy Mayor Turton and Councillor Dirksen. Okay. Now, do we have to do this on, usually we sign it, right? So
you will, all members of council will have to sign this, and we can discuss that later.
Do you want to do a roll call, or do you want me just to do a or an A?
I think the way that you usually do it, if you're asking if anyone was opposed, that should be fine.
Okay, is anybody opposed? Okay, that's carried then. Go ahead, and then you'll have to arrange for people to get in and sign that, right? Okay.
That's correct, Mayor Bridge.
All right. Okay, so that's great. State the following information. Anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision of the Committee of Adjustment in respect to the minor variance application must make a written request to the clerk of the town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, OG 1ZO, or by email, anleen@town.minto.on.ca. Officially adjourn the public hearing. And moved by Councillor. Good luck on that, Dan.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we're hoping to get going on it this fall.
Okay,
This
great.
fall, Dan, what's the hurry?
Well, there's no hurry, but I need something to do in the winter.
There you go. There you go.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Moved by Councillor Guston, second by Councillor McKenzie. The Town of Minto Committee of Adjustment convenes into regular council meeting. Anybody opposed? Seeing none, we're there. I notice a motion. Councillor McKenzie has provided a written notice of motion. This motion will be considered on the April 20th council meeting. Okay, that's all I have to do there, right, Annalee?
That's correct. It's a notice of reconsideration. It will
Yep.
be put on the April 20th agenda.
Right, gotcha. Okay, all right. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Elliott, that the council of the town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the committee of the whole. Anybody opposed? Carried, except for that cough, which I'm taking is it okay? Okay. Bylaws, moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the bylaw number 2021-24 to amend the zoning bylaw 0186, this amended by rezoning 5494 third line, town of Minto, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed on by council and seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, the bylaw number 2021-25 to amend the zoning bylaw 0186 as amended by rezoning 21 William Street South, former village of Clifford, town of Minto, be introduced, read first, second, and third time.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Bridge, this is just a first and
Oh,
second
second
reading
time,
on
sorry.
this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
The final one will come at the following meeting.
Yeah, sorry, first and second time. I got a little carried away there. Okay. Anybody opposed to that? Carried. Okay. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Anderson, the bylaw number 2021-26 to amend the development charges bylaw 2020-11 for the town of Minto be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed on open council, seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Resolution moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor McKenzie, the bylaw number 2021-27 to authorize sublease agreement with Betty McTagg for the office space at Launchit 1, Laura Street, Unit 3, Harrison, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, passed open council, and seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Gunson. Turn the page here. Seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the bylaw number 2021-28 to authorize a sublease agreement with Melissa Miller for the office space at Launchit 1, Laura Street, Unit 3, Harrison, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed over council, seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Dirksen, the bylaw number 2021-29 to authorize the execution of the site plan agreement with 2626514 Ontario Limited for proposed development on 290 Bolton Street, Palmerston, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed over council, and seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor McKenzie, the bylaw number 2021-30 to authorize execution of site plan agreement with J&D DeVries Construction for proposed development on Noble Family Road, Palmerston, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, passed over council, and seal the corporation. Anybody opposed? Carried. Moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Gunson, that the bylaw number 2021-31 to permit and regulate the use of off-road vehicles on certain roadways under the jurisdiction of the corporation of the town of Minto be read and first, second, and third time, and passed over council, seal the corporation. Now, we did have a vote to like a registered vote. Do you want to do that again, or do we have to do that, Emily?
I think we should have a recorded vote.
Okay.
If it's being requested, then we do it. So
well, then I was just going to ask if anybody wants it. It was before, so it just makes sense. Okay. Deputy Mayor Turton.
Yes.
Councillor Gudson.
Yes.
Councillor Elliott.
Yes.
Councillor Dirksen.
Yes.
Councillor Anderson.
No.
Well, Councilor McKenzie, sorry, you're on the other side of me there. Okay, Mark, nay, and I'm a yes. Okay, I think we got that right. Okay, passed. Moved by Councilor McKenzie, second by Councilor Anderson, the bylaw number 2021-32 to authorize the execution of site plan agreement with TG Minto Corporation proposed development on 300 Toronto Street and 600 Wellington Road, 123 Palmerston, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed open council sealed to the corporation. Anybody opposed? Passed. Moved by Councilor Elliott, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, the bylaw number 2021-33 to confirm the actions of the council of the corporation of Town of Minto be read, introduced first, second, and third time, and passed open council and sealed to the corporation. Anybody opposed to that? We're good. Passed. Moved by Councilor Gutson, second by Councilor Anderson, the council of Town of Minto adjourned to meet again at the call of the mayor. Anybody opposed? Passed. Thanks for a good meeting, everybody. Lots of stuff done.